Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ad America. We are the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and here we have a mission to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. And hello, everyone. My name is Patricia Elizabeth. I'm one of the e-guide here, and I'll be your host for today's event. In partnership with Education USA Indonesia, in this special event titled Elevate Your Career, Explore LLM Programs in the U.S. In this event, you can explore top Master of Laws programs in the United States. You can learn about their unique offerings and gain tips of navigating on the application process. If you're watching this online, we are still waiting for you to join this event because you can connect with representatives from leading law schools in our mini expo here in At America. There are 7 booths of U.S. universities, so you can ask directly to the representatives about your curiosity. All right, before we start our discussion, we have trivia quiz for you who join us via online platforms. And the question is it true or false? You can apply for LLM even if you don't have a bachelor's degree in law. You can submit your answer to our social media platforms, and if you can guess correctly, you will get live shout out from us at the end of this event. And now to begin our discussion, we're gonna hear opening remarks that will be delivered by Director of Ad America. Everyone, please give a big round of applause to Abraham Lee.
Thank you, Patricia. Good evening, everyone. As Patricia mentioned, my name's Abraham Lee. I'm the director for Ad America. Thank you, everybody, for coming, those of you here in person, and of course, those of you watching online. Here at Ad America, we really pride ourselves in providing a forum for young Indonesians to come and learn all about the United States. And one of our priorities is education. And today, as you can see on the screen behind me, this program is done in coordination with our Education USA Advising Service. If you don't know what Education USA is, here at Ad America and across Indonesia, we have Education USA Advisors who will provide free information about studying in the United States. How much does it cost? It's free. All you have to do is make it an appointment, whether in person or virtually, whether here in Jakarta or at one of our centers located across the country. We have 2 full-time Education USA advisors on site here at Ad America. Why do we make this kind of investment? Because we believe an education in the United States is among the best educations in the world. And we believe that young Indonesians could benefit not only from an education in the United States, but also from the experience of being exposed to different institutions and the culture of the United States. And even maybe more important than that, I personally believe that it's important for young Indonesians to go to the United States to share their experiences so that Americans can learn about Indonesia and to learn about the fact that Indonesia is more than just Bali, but is a country that is diverse with many different cultures and languages and ethnicities. And so it really is a shared collaboration where we learn from each other. And so today we're going to be talking about LLM programs, but whether it's LLM programs or bachelor's degrees in other fields, here at Ad America, I encourage you to continue to follow us on social media because we've got lots of Education USA programs going on throughout the year. We've got an Education USA podcast. I encourage you to follow us and listen to that podcast and to continue to follow Ad America as the place to learn about the United States. Last year, we celebrated 75 years of diplomatic relations. And today, it's really about what does the next 75 years look like? And that really is about young people and education who are going to take those lessons that they've learned and the experiences that they've received, and they're going to continue to build on that 75 years. And so I look forward to what the future holds for the U.S.-Indonesia relationship. So thank you again to our wonderful representatives from law schools around the country. Personally, I'm a little biased because I am also a lawyer, and so I feel like it's one of the best educations in the world. But I hope all of you here in person and online will learn a lot ask a lot of questions, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to speak to one of these representatives today. So thank you everybody for coming, and enjoy the program.
Thank you so much, Pa Abraham Lee, from the opening remarks. And next, we're going to have presentation from Senior Communications Officer Aminef. Everyone, please welcome Maya Purbo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is it okay if I sit down? Hello, good evening. Thank you, America, for having us. And thank you, Education USA, for inviting Aminef as the Fulbright Commission to participate in today's session. So as mentioned, we are going to talk briefly about Fulbright scholarships. Ideally, this information would be after representatives from universities share about their programs. And the idea is that one of the ways to apply is through a Fulbright scholarship for Indonesian nationals. So, but I understand that it's better for the setup to be done this way. So here I am now today, now to share about Fulbright scholarship. So this is a brief sharing. We start off with what is Fulbright program it's about. It is the flagship international academic exchange program that is sponsored by the US government, that is available or in partnership in 160 countries around the world. What is the aim of the Fulbright program? It is designed to increase mutual understanding between the people of the United States and the people of other countries. It was established by the US Congress in 1946. If the question is, why do I apply to Fulbright? There are so many other scholarship programs. Well, first, Fulbright gets you to study in the US. In addition to that, it's a global network. As mentioned before, there are 160 countries participating in this scholarship program. There is an assistant to apply for the US university, so you will be given assistance and help in terms of which university would be best for you. There will be academic and non-academic assistant during your study there. There will be pre-academic training before commencing your study. There will be post-academic training and internship. We will help in terms of J visa application for awardees and dependents. It is open to all eligible applicants. So one of the questions that we are often asked is there an age limit? No, there isn't. So at any age, you can apply. Specifically for Indonesians, the opportunities are that it is available to pursue graduate studies or advanced research at US University in a variety of fields. The master's degree and doctorate degree scholarships support 2 and 3 years of graduate study respectively at a US university. So in this occasion, I am focusing on graduate studies because the session today is about LLM. It's for graduate program. I do have here a point about the visiting scholar program, which allows an Indonesian holding a doctoral degree to carry out research for 3 to 6 months at an American university. In Indonesia, Fulbright started in 1952, so 73 years ago. And throughout that time, nearly 5,000 alumni, both Indonesians and Americans, have taught, have pursued degrees, or have done research in each other's countries. The Fulbright program here in Indonesia is managed by the American Indonesian Exchange Foundation, or AMINEF for short. We are a non-profit foundation. We have been around for 33 years. We are based in Jakarta. And we are one of the 49 Fulbright commissions around the world, because some of the Fulbright programs are managed by the US Embassy. So now I will go specifically to the opportunity for Indonesian to pursue a master's degree. So here are the 4 requirements. First, applicant must hold a bachelor's degree. Applicants must have a minimum grade point average of 3.0 out of 4.0 scale, and have a minimum TOEFL of those scores there. 550 for TOEFL, or IBT score of 80, or IELTS 6.5, or Duolingo score of 125. So there are 4 different tests that you can use. In terms of the benefits, you will get J1 visa support. There will be round-trip economy class air travel from scholarship recipients' home to the host institution in the US. And also for any Jakarta-based sessions. So for instance, pre-departure orientation, if it's held in Jakarta, then that will also be included in terms of grant benefits. Funding for tuition and fees, living and related costs, accident and health insurance coverage per US government guidelines. Aminef is accepting applications now until the deadline of March 15, 2025. So if you are interested, if you are considering, if you're just thinking, should I not? Go for it. Just go and scan that QR code. So this section now is just going to tell you or share with you about 6 or 7 Fulbrighters who received Fulbright master's degree, pursued law. So this is starting from the most recent. This is Margareta Cuina. She's now working at Earth Justice. She's a 2014 awardee at Lewis and Clark College. This is Pak Binziat Gaddafi, who's currently a commissioner in the Judicial Commission of Indonesia for the 2022-2025 term. He was a 2000 recipient at University of Washington, Seattle. His field of study was Asian and comparative law. The third one is Professor Abdul Haris Semandawai, who is currently serving as a commissioner in the Indonesian National Commission on Human Rights for the term of 2022 and 2025. He was a 2003 recipient of Fulbright at Northwestern University, pursuing international human rights law. Next, we have Sondang Friska Simanjuntak, who is currently serving as a commissioner on the National Commission on Violence Against Women for the 2025-2030 term. She received a Fulbright master's degree in 2003 to study international human rights law at Northwestern University. And then we have the late Artijo Alkotstar, who was a member of the supervisory board of the Corruption Eradication Commission, or we Indonesians call it KPK, for the 2019-2023 term. He received in 2001 Fulbright Scholarship for LLM in International Human Rights Law at Northwestern University. Then we have Dini Shanti Purwono, who was a former special staff for President Jokowi. She's now serving as an independent commissioner for PT Perusahaan Gas Negara. In 2001, she received a Fulbright master's degree at Harvard. And then we have Professor Harkristuti Harkrisnowo, a professor of law in Universitas Indonesia. I understand you visited Universitas Indonesia earlier today. In 1985, She pursued master's degree in criminal justice law at Sam Houston State University. These are ways to contact us, Aminef, should you have any questions or if you want to clarify points or anything concerning Fulbright opportunities for Indonesians. And this is, if you want to connect with us, these are all our social media platforms, or where we are in social media platforms. And this is the end of my presentation. So thank you. And I hope that some of you or all of you will try to apply Fulbright Scholarship for Indonesians. Thank you.
Terima kasih Ibu Maya Purbo as a Senior Communications Officer of Aminef. So without any further ado, allow me to invite our lovely moderator for today. She is Education USA Advisor in Ad America. Everyone, please welcome Caroline Darmanto.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Ad America and welcome to the LLM prayer and program tonight. My name is Caroline, as mentioned. I'm one of the advisors here at Ad America. Have you all been here before? No? Oh, some of you. Okay. Have you guys heard of Education USA before? Yes? Okay. Right. So, as Abraham also mentioned previously, Education USA, it's an advising network under the U.S. Department of State. Kita di sini ada lebih dari 170 negara seluruh dunia. We also have a few centers around Indonesia. So if you take a look at the map behind me, we have one center in Aceh, one in Medan, one at the U.S. Embassy, one here at Ad America, one in Malang, one in Surabaya, one in Makassar, and the latest one is one in Samarinda. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to know more about studying in the U.S., if you guys need help with your essays, your resume, your CV, do not hesitate to contact us. You can take a photo of this, and then you can also scan the QR code or go to the link on that the below on the right, and then book an appointment with any of the advisors that suits you. So if you live in Jakarta, you don't have to make an appointment with anyone in Jakarta, tapi bisa juga bikin dari Malang atau bikin dari Makassar. That's totally up to you, right? Whatever your question is, we can guarantee that everyone will help you the same. Gitu. So, apa sih yang bisa kita tolongin sebenarnya? So we can help you with everything from the very beginning, from researching your options. If you want to know more about scholarship programs, tadi juga udah ada presentasi dari Fulbright, jadi silahkan juga nanti bisa ditanya-tanya langsung. But what about all the other scholarship options, right? Nanti bisa juga di luar setelah acara talk show-nya bisa ketemu dengan representatif dari berbagai macam university tentang LLM programs dan tentang scholarships-nya juga. So whatever you need help with, we're gonna be with you every step of the way from the very beginning up until the pre-departure orientation atau sampai teman-teman semua siap untuk berangkat ke US untuk studinya. Gitu. Alright, so that's all about Education USA. Tapi malam ini kita punya acara khusus tentang LLM atau tentang sekolah hukum di Amerika Serikat. Jadi untuk teman-teman yang mau melanjutkan S2 di Amerika Serikat, ini acara yang tepat banget gitu. Nanti setelah acara talk show-nya, silahkan ngobrol secara langsung dengan representatifnya, cari tahu secara langsung tentang apa sih yang dicari di setiap universitinya, apa sih juga yang mungkin hal yang paling menarik atau specialties-nya untuk setiap university. Nah itu silahkan ditanyakan secara langsung. Alright, so without further ado, I'm gonna call our speakers for the first session. Jadi nanti akan dibagi dua sesi ya, sesi pertama dan lalu sesi kedua. Alright, so please help me welcome. The first one will be Caryn Voland from Georgetown Law. And then the second one is Maureen Leo from Boston University Law. The third one is Clemence Kucera from University of the Pacific McGeorge Law. And the last but not least is Gabrielle Goodwin from Indiana University Maurer Law. So everyone, please give them a round of applause. You can sit anywhere. All right, welcome. I believe you all have never been here before, right? Oh, you've been here before. Okay, so everyone else. Oh, years ago. Okay, so welcome. Before we start the Q&A session and the discussion, maybe we can start with an introduction of yourselves. You know the university. I guess what makes your university very unique and special, and we can go ahead and start with. Okay, with you.
All right, is this working? Great.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caryn Voland. I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate Admissions at Georgetown University Law Center, or Georgetown Law for short, which is located in Washington, D.C., the capital of the U.S., just a few blocks away from our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. We are one of the larger LLM programs in the United States. We have over 300 international students every year from 60 to 70 different countries around the world. And we're here looking forward to talking to all of you and hopefully inviting more students from Indonesia to our LLM programs. Thanks.
All right.
My name is Maureen Leo from Boston University School of Law. I serve as the director of our international and graduate programs. I'm also a lecturer of law and run the legal research and writing department for the graduate programs at Boston University. We came a long way and we're so grateful to be here. We have welcomed many Indonesian students in our programs in the past and hope to welcome more. The Boston University has a fairly large LLM program. We have about 250 residential students within our program, representing more than 42 different countries this year. We offer a general LLM program as well as specialized programs within intellectual property and information law, banking and finance, tax, and then we also offer a 2-year LLM program. A lot of our Indonesian students have taken advantage of scholarships that have come from the Indonesian government, allowing them to study in the United States for 2 years, and the 2-year program is an excellent way to leverage that opportunity. Really glad to get an opportunity to meet and speak with all of you today.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Clemence Kucera. I'm the Assistant Dean for the Graduate Programs at McGeorge School of Law, part of University of the Pacific. We're located in Sacramento, the capital of the state of California. We have 3 LLM programs, a general one in a transnational business practice, so it's a combination of domestic and international business law, and one in water and environmental law. We also have a doctoral program and also a visiting scholar program. So there are many opportunities at our university. Our LLM programs are usually 2 semesters, but we have an optional 3rd semester for those of you who wants to take, perhaps like extend a little bit your studies over 3 semesters. And of course, like as all of my colleagues, we do provide support, individual support to each of our students. And also to those who wants to take a bar exam in the United States. We have a particular focus on working one-on-one with our students wanting to take the bar exam so they can pass on the first try. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Goodwin. I am the Assistant Dean for Graduate Programs and Global Engagement at Indiana University Maurer School of Law. Maurer School of Law is located in Bloomington, Indiana, which probably many of you have not heard of before. But it is a quintessentially college town. And so it's a bit smaller than many of the other cities that you'll be hearing about. But that has some advantages. Usually we promote the cost of living as being lower than in a big city. We have, like my colleagues, a variety of different LLM programs with specializations, doctoral programs. We have, I think, a unique program for the LLM students called the Learning and Working LLM, which requires students to do an internship in their 2nd semester while they're completing the LLM, as well as a 2-year LLM program where students can come and study English before going on to finish the LLM. This is my 2nd time here at America, and I'm really thrilled to be back and really happy to have been invited and to get to meet everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So the first topic, we're going to talk about the legal system in the U.S., right? But before we get there, I want to know more about the international student bodies at each of the universities. How many international students do you currently have at the, for the LLM program?
So I think my program is more on the smaller side. So we have anywhere from 30 to 60 international students in the LLM program. We have a growing international student population in the JD program as well. And then the SJD program is all international, and there are between 5 and 10 every year. At the university generally, there are quite a few international students. And so I think it's nice that at the law school, it's a smaller program, but there are plenty of opportunities to be involved with international students campus-wide.
Okay.
Our school is very similar to Gabrielle's school. Like we have currently like 42 LLM students that are international. All of our doctoral students are, well, actually that's not true, except for one. All of our doctoral students are international. We have roughly 600 law students at our school, so we are like a smaller law school compared to my two colleagues here to my left.
We're getting bigger as we go down the line here. So Boston University School of Law, as mentioned, we have about 240 residential students. Almost the vast majority of those are international students representing more than 42 countries this year. We say in Boston that we're the intellectual capital of the United States. We take pride in our intellectual environment in the city. We have over 60 different colleges and universities in Boston, including some little ones you might have heard of, like MIT and Harvard and many others. Boston University itself has more than 32,000 students. Over 12,000 of them come from abroad, representing more than 120 countries. So in Boston, on the subway system, you'll hear Farsi and Indonesian and French and Spanish and German, because the whole world seems to come to Boston to study.
So at Georgetown Law, we have usually about 350 or so international students in our LLM program. They come from all over the world, usually 60 or 70 different countries, with countries that make the top 10 largest countries covering multiple continents. So they're not all just from one part of the world. And I think as far as the university as a whole goes, I'm actually not really sure how many total international students there are, because it's a big university, but the law school itself is kind of very self-contained, and we have some international students in our JD program as well. Like Boston, Washington, D.C. is a very international city, being the headquarters of places like the World Bank and the IMF, and in embassies from countries all around the world. So again, I think for international students, it's a great way to be in both a very American city as the capital of the US, but also someplace that's used to welcoming people from all around the world and helping them to feel at home. So, yep.
Thank you. That's very interesting, because based on your information, you guys have hundreds and hundreds of international students for the LLM program. Well, I think I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any law degree background, but I believe the U.S. and Indonesia has a different law systems, right? So why do you think, I guess, international students should go to the U.S. for that, despite the differences? What would be the benefits for them?
Well, I think that's exactly right. So the U.S. and most English-speaking countries have a very different legal system, the common law system as opposed to the civil law system. And I think as the world becomes smaller, and especially lawyers are dealing with whether it's transactional law or other kinds of law all around the world, you're going to have clients that are living all around the world, and being able to help your clients and give the best advice, knowing the different legal system, is a benefit. I think that no matter what you end up doing, whether you practice or you're an academic, being able to have that background, being able to learn the different systems, what's different, what's similar, because there are similarities as well, can be very helpful.
Yeah, and I would say, I would add also, like, especially like in the dispute resolution world, it's a blend. It's no longer just either common law or civil law. There is very much a blend of those two systems. So obviously our school, we focus a lot on international business, but in international business law world, it's no longer just either a civil law practice or a common law practice. Law is evolving by the minute. And so having an understanding of both systems is key in order to be successful and to adequately represent clients.
I think, Caryn, you want to add something?
I was just going to say that I noticed that Mr. Abraham Lee said in his introduction that he is a lawyer and that he thinks it's the best education possible. I don't know. I won't put that challenge out there, but I do think that one thing about the common law system and the way that it's taught in the United States is that it really teaches students how to examine problems from multiple angles and think of answers to all kinds of problems that could arise. And I think that is a really interesting way to learn how to think. And even if you don't end up practicing law in the United States, wherever you end up practicing, and even if you don't end up being a lawyer, learning to think about problems in that way is very helpful.
And I would just add, it's one thing to be a lawyer, it's another thing to be a global practitioner. And it's a largely globalized world, so I think all students are well served in thinking outside of their own national perspective and how they could bring an international dimension to their practice.
So it's basically a skill and knowledge that can be applicable to many, many fields, right? It's not just to being a lawyer. I think, I believe, Clemence, you also mentioned previously about the bar exam. Is that something that international students have to pass?
So they don't have to pass it. Okay, so I am not American, I'm French, and I did my LLM in the United States. And I took the bar exam never wanting to practice law in a law firm. But why did I do that? It's because it opened so many doors. Okay. So no, you don't have to. But my question to all of my students who tell me, I don't want to practice law, I still say, but why don't you give yourself this gift that is going to open so many doors? You've studied so hard. You've already invested so much of your time. It's just a little bit more. So you don't have to, but I can tell you it will definitely give you access to many more opportunities if you do end up passing the bar exam in the United States, whether you practice law in the US or not. Yes.
And Clem is a French lawyer, so she went to her LLB in France. Yeah. And then she came and got an LLM and only had to study 1 year before she got to take the bar exam, whereas I had to go for 4 years of college, and then I had to go to 3 years of law school before I was able to sit for a bar exam. So it does allow international students to fast-track that process ahead of their American counterparts and get access to the bar exam much quicker.
Okay.
I would also just add that, which you may not realize, every state has a different bar exam. Every state has different requirements. We actually are moving toward a more a uniform. In fact, it's called the uniform bar exam. And so the bar exam itself may be the same across many states, but the requirements for becoming a lawyer vary by state. And especially for LLM students that may have a first degree in law at home, come and do the LLM. There are very specific requirements that you have to fulfill in order to be eligible to take a bar exam. But then you may be eligible, and then you may have this wonderful opportunity if you can take and pass a bar exam.
All right, thank you. Right, so the last question from me is, what about the work opportunities after you graduate from an LLM degree?
I think I will use the lawyer's favorite expression to answer that question, which is, it depends. So there's no one right answer to that question. I think that the legal market, the market for lawyers in the United States is very competitive, even for people who have done all of their education in the United States. And I think it's true that many people who come to do an LLM are looking for the possibility of finding a job in the United States, but not everybody who wants to do that is able to find a job in the United States. So I think it's important for LLM students to understand that there's many reasons to do an LLM. Most of our students come because they want to broaden their perspectives, to become better lawyers in their home country, to have that exposure to the common law system, both in terms of the educational benefits, but also the things that have been mentioned here about the practice of law becoming more and more international. as a student, if you come on a Fulbright scholarship, you would be coming with a J visa, which means that you do need to return home after your studies for at least 2 years, I believe. If you're coming on an F1 student visa, which is most of our students, you do have the possibility of staying for up to a year afterwards to do optional practical training, or OPT for short. It does require you to find a job, and not everybody who wants to stay for OPT is able to find the employment to allow them to do that. So that being said, many of our students do find opportunities for OPT or for long-term work experience in the United States. And the reason that I say it depends is because I think some students have a very specific kind of job that they're looking for and aren't looking beyond and maybe finding other opportunities. But if you are willing to broaden your horizons, think creatively about the types of legal work that you're willing to do or the cities where you're willing to work, you may find an opportunity that you didn't expect to have a job in the United States.
All right. Anyone else want to add anything to that?
Just that it's true that finding a job and then getting a visa sponsored to stay in the U.S. it's a tough road, but that doesn't. It's not a kind of yes or no, black or white kind of situation. You also have these other opportunities of internships in the OPT year, and that gives you the chance to network, to broaden your network, and to get to know people from all over the world, your classmates or someone that you may be working with. And as Caryn said, then you start seeing the world differently, and you start having these amazing experiences that you never considered before. So I don't think it's necessarily something that is a bad thing just because you may not get the full-time forever job. What you do get is worth it.
And we also do find that sometimes, maybe you don't get that job right away, but it doesn't mean that you're never going to work in the United States. So the LLM can open doors for you back home that gives you a broader range of experience, which then makes you more marketable perhaps to be seconded to the US or have more of an international opportunity.
All right. Okay, so we're going to open the questions to our audience here and online. All right, so I'm going to throw some opportunities here first. Di sini ada yang mau bertanya. Kalau ada yang mau silahkan angkat tangannya dulu, nanti tunggu mikrofonnya untuk diberikan. Silahkan perkenalkan dirinya dulu, and then you can ask your questions. All right, so we have a first question.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Ruth, and my question is, will your university help the student to find a job? Because back when I was in high school in the US, they have like a career center. So I'm guessing there is, and how does it work? Because I imagine it would be really hard to compete with other United States lawyer who studied from the beginning in the US. Okay, thank you, merci.
Yes, the career centers at school still exist, and especially in law school, like each law school have a career center. Usually there's going to be like some people who are some advisors, career advisors who are dedicated to working with LLM students. I'm assuming like at my colleagues' law school, same as mine, like we host workshops, so you absolutely get help throughout your process for finding a job. I would tell you that perhaps finding a job, and I don't know this for sure, but perhaps finding a job actually in the United States in cities outside of the big major cities may actually be, frankly, a little bit easier because there is perhaps less competition. I don't have this data, but I can tell you my graduates who are passing the bar exam have been very successful in the last 2 years at finding employment, full-time employment in the United States. But they've also been very open as far as location and area of practice.
Okay, anyone want to add any answer to that? Nope. Okay. Ruth, does that answer your question? All good. Okay. Anyone else here want to ask a question? So the first one is from Tiara. Her question is, what's the difference between an LLM and a JD? Which one is better for international students?
Well, a JD program requires 3 years of postgraduate study, and it's called a Juris Doctorate degree. It's the standard degree that American lawyers typically obtain. So Americans can go and get a degree in anything, art, architecture, history, STEM, and then they then proceed to go to law school to get a JD. International students can come and get an LLM in either 1 year or 18 months or 2 years, but they can get an LLM degree, which, as we talked about, enables them to possibly qualify to sit for the bar exam, work during OPT, and or possibly stay for long-term work in the United States if they are lucky, and they literally win the lottery from the United States government.
A JD also allows you to take the bar exam in any state in the United States, whereas the LLM can qualify you in some jurisdictions, but not all. And it also, it's 3 years versus 1.
Which means it's a lot cheaper, too. It's 1 year of study in the United States versus 3
years.
That matters.
The admissions requirements also going to be very different. A JD degree, most law school will require you to take an exam that is called the LSAT exam, whereas for the LLM, you don't need it to take any standardized test beside the English language proficiency.
Okay. Gabrielle, do you want to add anything to that? All right. Okay. Right. So I think, Tiara, I hope that that answers your questions. I think that also answers the other question from our audience online. Fadli would ask about, do I need a law degree to study LLM in the U.S.? I think that also the QLTD for today's session before this one starts. Anyone want to answer that?
So generally speaking, yes, you need a first degree in law in order to for that bar exam, because because you do have to have a first degree in law and the LLM and all of the requirements in order to be eligible for taking a bar exam in the states that allow it.
All right. Okay.
Some programs will allow students who have an LLM but not an LLB to serve as the basis for admission. So we've certainly admitted students on that basis. We've also had many STEM students who have PhDs in sciences or in tech in some fields who obtain licensure by self-study for the bar exam, for example, in China, and then we admit them to the LLM programs here, because if you've passed the bar exam by self-study after getting a STEM degree, we think you could academically handle an LLM degree. So there are some narrow bases of admission at certain universities outside of the LLB.
Right. Okay. Okay. So while we're waiting for more questions, I almost forgot. So we have a bottle of water for each one of you.
Thank you.
So in case you get thirsty, you can drink first. Okay. So now, anyone here has any question? Is anyone here curious about maybe life as a law student in the U.S.?
Well, I would love to ask some of my colleagues perhaps to talk about what happened in the classroom in the United States in law school. How do we teach? How do you teach?
Well, I've taught for 20 years now, which I can't believe myself because I consider myself much younger than my resume reflects. But I find it's my job not to bore my students. So we try to give the most dynamic, interactive experience for our students that we can. You should expect the Socratic method. You don't go into an American law classroom and you're not talked at. You don't go in and just take notes. You are expected to prepare before class. You're expected to participate during class. You can expect to be asked many questions. If I have a student in my class who yawns, they are immediately called on. If I have a student who looks tired, they're immediately called on. My job as a professor is to engage the entire class through the duration of that class so that they're able to access the content in the most engaging way. And finally, I'd say the relationships you can establish with faculty in the United States is very unique and very special. We deeply care about our students. Most faculty, you will find, establish one-on-one relationships with students far after the time that they're in class. So it's a very dynamic and special place to study for those reasons.
So it's always good, or not always good, but student must be prepared when they walk into a classroom, right?
Yes, they must be prepared because we use the case law methodology to teach law. So that means like students are expected to read a certain, not full opinions, but part of opinions, and then there is a discussion in class with a professor on those court opinions. It is expected that the students have done a little bit of research prior to class. So it's not just skimming, the reading. It's like they really need to spend some time like reading and trying to understand the material so there can be like a productive conversation in class.
Okay. Another part that may be unusual in traditional law school classes is that the way that you are graded, the assessment, is one final exam for the entire semester. That's it. You take it, and however you do on that day at that time is your grade. And it is very stressful, I would say. What's that? But not every class is like that. So legal writing, for example, is a class that is, they're usually smaller classes. There are a lot of assignments, a lot of feedback, which is wonderful. And that's one of the classes that kind of gets students prepared to go on into their other classes and do well. But some of the bigger required first-year classes for the JD students, the doctrinal classes, can be a little bit intimidating.
Okay. And one exciting thing about legal curriculum also is we have a number of simulated courses as well. So they're really practice-oriented based. So if you take a course on negotiation during that class, your assessment is going to be from how well you negotiate. You could take doctrinal contracts, such as Gabe has mentioned, you're going to have one exam at the end. But then the next semester you may take contract drafting. And that's going to simulate what you do in practice, and your assessment will be how well you actually draft the contract. So we have a nice combination with practical skills curriculum in addition to our doctrinal classes.
All right. So are all lecturers or professors in the LLM and JD schools, are they all practitioners, or most of them are?
So in the United States, you can have a beautiful career just being a law professor compared to many other countries around the world where you are a legal practitioner and you teach in addition. We have that in the United States. They're called adjuncts. So,
okay.
But our full-time professors usually do not practice law on a regular basis. They may still have a practice on the side for every once in a while for a case, but our full-time professors are just full-time professors. And I say just. I feel like I'm minimizing their role. They're doing research. They're speaking at conferences. They're obviously teaching like a number of courses. And then we have some practitioners who come and teach just one class and just in their area of expertise.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay. So we have time for one last question for this session. Anyone here want to ask anything? All right.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I want to ask a question. Have you ever had an international student who has struggled to understand a course that you taught, and how do you help him or her? Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Right. Who wants to take this one?
Yes, and yes, I've had students, international students and American students who have struggled with the material. So that's the one thing to know is like there are many students who will struggle at times, not just international students. Often universities have an academic support faculty or academic support center where they will sit down with the students, and sometimes it's just a matter of talking a little bit more about the content or setting up a tutoring system. As we mentioned, the professors also want to engage with the students. So when the student is struggling, we often tell the students, you really should go and speak with the professors, directly with your professor to talk a little bit more about this. When I have students who struggle in my course, like I usually set up like weekly appointment just to check in and to make sure. We go over materials again, we go over outlining. Again, like what is wonderful in the United States is in legal education is you get a lot of attention from not just your professors, but all the administration, and the university often have many resources to support students who struggle in a course.
I'd echo, sometimes life also happens for our students, And our international students are very far away from home. So I always have students who lose loved ones, or someone gets sick, or they themselves struggle with homesickness. And I think one of the great benefits of studying in the United States is the high level of personal care and attention you get from both your faculty and your administration, because we truly, genuinely care and love our students. We want them to have the best year of their lives. And sometimes that's helping our students navigate through the challenges life throws at them inside and outside of the classroom.
And I would just add that it's not just the faculty and the administration that are supporting students, but it's other students that are supporting each other. And that's a really wonderful thing to see. We have more, the third year JD students that are helping the first semester LLMs and on and on. And there are a lot of student organizations and activities that students can be involved in. And that the point of that is to grow that community and get people to be introduced to new ideas and new areas of law, for example, or affinity groups, lots of different things that you can be involved in as a law student, even outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I think that picking up on something both Maureen and Gabe you said is that it can be it's often, the students will tell us many years later, that was one of the best years of my life. And I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that many of our international students may be away from home for the first time and going through a really challenging academic program, and learning how to navigate that together, I think bonds them together in a really special way that stays with them for the rest of their lives and their careers as well.
I have many examples of LLM students that met in the program and then got married.
And then even more LLM students who spend 10 years after graduation going to those weddings around the world. So it's a really exciting chapter during and after.
Because the LLM program is a rigorous program at any university, and it's at the same time probably maybe not the most rewarding experience of your life, but it's at that time it would be like a wonderful and rewarding experience. So you create some really, really strong ties. I am still very close friend with the students that I studied with when I did my LLM, and I go visit them and they come visit me. We know each other's kids. It's wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much, Caryn, Maureen, Clemence, and Gabrielle. So everyone, you'll be able to meet and speak with them directly during the fair after the talk show. Thank you so much, everyone. And, I hope you meet great students from Indonesia. Thank you. All right. So before we move on to the second session, we're going to have a brief video from all the universities that are here. It's a testimonial from their students about their experiences. So I hope you enjoy the video.
After beginning my legal career in my home country, India, I felt the next step was an LLM degree, which would help me gain access to the human rights space and get closer to my goal of working in international law. Georgetown is one of the best law schools in the US and in the world. The professors here are fantastic. You're taught by brilliant working professionals and thought leaders. By the end of the course, you not just learn about theoretical knowledge, but also practical.
I come from Tbilisi, Georgia.
I'm from Montevideo, Uruguay.
I'm from Paris, France.
Rio, Brazil.
Islamabad, Pakistan.
San Diego, California.
I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Istanbul, Turkey. I'm from Inner Mongolia, China.
To have a global education in an ever-shrinking world, it's very important if you want to succeed. GW gives you that global mindset.
The city offers a lot of opportunities, working-wise, cultural-wise, but also there is a lot of parks and green neighborhoods where you can really get out of the city to distract yourself from books and from studying. We do a lot of social activities, going out, getting to know each other's culture, so I think this is really also very, very important.
You can't place a value on studying abroad, especially here at Maurer. There's such a big international community. You make a social network on a global scale. I've talked to people from everywhere around the world, and I've gained a social network and I've gained an appreciation for people from everywhere.
You're given the skills that will allow you to go out in the world. You really get the feeling that you can do anything with your degree, and that's something that I didn't have before.
Students should expect that, number one, they are going to be taught by faculty who really care about their understanding of the subject matter and preparing them to ultimately be good lawyers. We have a large faculty, and it's an accomplished faculty that's well respected nationally and internationally. As you look at the second and third years, I think that students should expect that they are going to be taught by faculty who are expert in a wide variety of areas.
I come from Ecuador.
From Brazil.
And I'm from Saudi Arabia.
From Japan.
I'm from South Korea.
From Taiwan.
I'm from Iran.
From China. I'm from Lyon in the south of France.
I'm from Yemen.
At the University of Minnesota Law School, we integrate our LLM students into every aspect of the law school.
The program here really helped me deepen my knowledge in the areas that I want to practice once I go back home.
With an LLM degree from a good law school and with a business concentration, I'm going to be able to do a lot with that.
My name is Offolda Shrestha, and I'm from Kathmandu, Nepal. So I'm currently pursuing LLM in Transnational Business Practice, and I graduate in 2026. There are a couple of reasons that I chose McGeorge. I felt that McGeorge has one of the highest bar passing rate, so that was kind of a very attracting thing for me. And also after I approached them, the people, the graduate international community was very responsive with my answers and emails, and they were it felt like they cared about me and they actually wanted me to be here.
My name is Carolina Nuche, and I'm an alum of the Boston University Graduate Tax Program. A great thing about the BU program is that close to 90% of the faculty are all still practicing attorneys. And I think that BU is that great gateway into, okay, you're no longer really learning the theory, you're about a year from practicing. So let's get you into that mindset. And you have these amazing attorneys that are either have their own practices or working for very prestigious firms, applying what their situations are to the theory.
Right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Keren banget ya tadi yang udah sekolah di sana ya. Jadi siapa yang mau mungkin selanjutnya jadi students or maybe the next alumni of these universities? Everyone here harusnya mau ya. All right. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the second sessions. So please help me welcome for the second session. We're gonna talk about applying to U.S. law schools. So please help me welcome our first speaker, Shehernaz Joshi from George Washington Law, Kara Galvin from Minnesota Law, and Heather Miller from Texas A&M School of Law. A round of applause, everyone. All right. So I think this is the first time that all of you are here. All right, welcome. Welcome to our stage also. So before we start, why don't we start with a round of introductions? Maybe we can start from you, Shehernaz.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shehernaz Joshi. I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate and International Programs at the George Washington University Law School, affectionately known as GW Law. We're based in Washington, D.C., and our LLM program is a medium-sized program. We take about 150 students every year, but from more than 45 countries this year. So we offer a general LLM and then several specializations, anything from business and finance, international and comparative law, energy and environmental, intellectual property, and several others. All of these specializations have a practical track, which actually requires the student then to do an externship Being in DC, we're across the street from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, 2 blocks away from the Organization of American States, and surrounded by not only the federal agency buildings, but by international organizations, human rights, NGO organizations, and very other different types of organizations that all deal with law. Being in DC, we always say that law is in action. And so being at GW, you get a very, very close eye into the legal action of the law that is being made in Washington, D.C., and allows us to bring the knowledge of the law into the classroom.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. It's my first time here in Jakarta, and it's been such a wonderful time so far. But my name is Galvin. I'm the Director of International and Graduate Programs at the University of Minnesota Law School, or we usually just say Minnesota Law for a nickname. And Minnesota Law is a very great school. It's a top-ranked law school in the U.S., even though Minneapolis, our city, might not be the most well-known city around the world compared to some other U.S. cities like New York or L.A. or D.C. But it's a very great program. We have a smaller LLM program with about 50 students per year, and we do this intentionally. We really thrive on making sure that our students have an excellent student experience while they are with us. And so with this smaller program, we're able to really ensure that. And we know everybody's name, we know where they are from, what they are studying, how they're doing, we check in. So I'm really proud about that aspect of our program. And one unique thing that we can offer in our LLM program is a course called Judicial Observation. So LLM students who choose to take this class are matched with a local judge in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, which is our metropolitan area. And these judges are friends of our program. Many of them graduated from Minnesota Law themselves, 1,000 years ago from the JD program. And they take the LLM student under their wing for the semester, and the student is able to spend time in the judge's chambers, ask questions about the cases, kind of be a part of the staff, along with the clerk and the other staff who are working with this judge, witness cases in the judge's courtroom, maybe even witness a jury trial. So this is a really special relationship that our students are able to have with the judges. And I was just told by one of our students who did this that the judge gave them a ride to the airport when they were heading back home to their home country after the end of the program. So just kind of gives you an idea of the type of experience that they can have.
Thank you, Caryn.
I'm Heather Miller. I'm the Assistant Director of LLM Programs at Texas A&M School of Law. One of the things that we like to say is howdy, so howdy. I am thrilled to be in Jakarta and happy to talk about Texas A&M. So we also have a relatively smaller program. We have about 55 students currently enrolled in our on-campus program. We have much more in our online program, but the majority of our international students will enroll in our on-campus program to get the opportunity to actually be in the United States and experience that cultural exchange outside and inside of the classroom. So we really have two main areas that we focus on our LLM in the on-campus program. One is the general LLM, and students can approach their general LLM in two ways. They can completely make it customizable to their unique interests, drawing from the strengths that we have as a law school, such as dispute resolution. And then they could also do a bar track. So Texas is one of the states that is very friendly to international attorneys. So if you'd like to practice in one of the largest states in the country or have the potential opportunity to do so, then you'd want to do the general track of U.S. law. And then we also have an intellectual property law program that's especially growing as we become more globalized. And as the world becomes smaller, intellectual property law is becoming more and more important as we share ideas and technology with one another.
All right, thank you, Heather. Right, so because we're going to talk about applying to U.S. law schools, right? What are the typical requirements that a U.S. law school basically require from an international student?
I can kick us off, and I'm sure my colleagues can add.
Right.
So usually law schools utilize a website, an application database called lsac.org, or LSAC, we call it. And this is a website that you should turn to right away just to get some general information about all of the many different law schools in the United States, where they are located, what kind of programs they have, what types of specializations do they have, what are the requirements. So this is a really great source of information to start off, but then you'll also use this website when it's time to apply. So it serves as kind of an application database, a portal that you will create with your own account. You will upload all of your materials. The things that you need are things like transcripts from your previous institutions, a current CV or resume, a personal statement, some letters of recommendations from professors or coworkers or supervisors that you have worked with in the past, and so on. And so you will create this account, put those things all in one place, and then you will transmit it to whichever U.S. law schools that you would like to send it to apply. So what else should we add?
Anyone else want to add?
So you should note that some law schools will also give you the option of applying to them directly. So if you are looking at perhaps, LSAC is a wonderful clearinghouse because you send all of your documentation to them and then they transmit all of your documents to the schools that you are applying to. But if you're applying to just a few schools or if you have a very targeted school, and you can check with the school then to see if they will accept your application directly. So all law schools will use LSAC, but there are some law schools that will also accept applications from you directly.
Heather, do you want to add anything to that?
I think my colleagues handled it perfectly.
All right, okay. So what are the most popular LLM programs in your respective schools for international students, if any?
So I think at Texas A&M, and I think many, because the bar exam is a goal of a lot of students, not all students, but a lot of students. So the general legal studies or the American law tends to be the most popular programs because there's that opportunity and even that hope that they may be licensed and able to practice in the United States someday.
Carol?
Yes, at Minnesota, we have 2 LLM degree tracks. So one is the general that we've been talking about, where you could do a specialization if you wish, or you could just do a broad array of courses, or a business law LLM degree. I would say the general is more popular, sometimes because students have a concentration or a specialization in mind, or they just want to select from a whole different array of legal areas and just have a very broad experience in the LLM program. And you can also take the bar. We don't have to, you can't take it in Minnesota. It's not one of the states that allow it, but most of our students who choose the bar take it in New York, which is very common. It's one of the jurisdictions that allows it. But yeah, and all of our students in the LLM program at Minnesota are international students. It is a program at our school for foreign lawyers. And so we don't have any domestic LLMs. It's just our international LLMs who make up our entire program.
Okay. What about you, Shehernaz?
So at George Washington Law, we have the general, so where you can sort of do that big picture overview of the U.S. legal system, or you may want to actually focus and take a certain core area of the law and take a few courses in that. But then we also have several specializations. And to answer your question about some of the most popular ones, we have business and finance, we have energy and environmental law, and then we have an international and comparative law where you can then do an additional concentration in either human rights or in international arbitration. We have a program in cybersecurity and national security, and then intellectual property. Those are the biggest programs that we offer, but we have government contracts, we have litigation. And so there is a variety of these programs, and the beauty of the LLM program is that even though you specialize, it doesn't mean that you're only taking courses in that subject area. You can absolutely sort of tailor your program to be as flexible or as targeted and specific as you want. So if you are doing business and finance, for example, but you really want to just get an understanding of what patent law is, by all means, go ahead and take that class. So the curriculum is flexible. So within the parameters of the LLM degree, you can sort of tailor your degree requirements under the guidelines of what we require to graduate, but you can certainly pick and choose amongst these specializations if you wish as well.
Right. Okay. So Heather, you mentioned about the online program earlier. Is there a difference between the the in-person and campus program and the online program?
Sure, and I will speak in general and then also about what I know best, which is Texas A&M. So there's going to be some programs that are taught online that are synchronous, meaning they're being taught live at any given time. The majority of the online programs at Texas A&M, while there may be live lectures or office hours so that you can interact directly with your faculty member, are asynchronous. So you can take them in your own time. You don't have to take them at 8 a.m. At Texas time. You can take them at 8 a.m. Indonesia time. And so it allows a little bit more flexible program of study. They're usually modules that are completed within 1 week. So the module might open on Sunday and it might close at midnight Texas time on Saturday. So you have that whole week to get everything done. So if you have a family and a child gets sick, or if you have a really important presentation that you have to prepare at work, you still can make progress in your LLM program, and you can stay at home continuing to earn money. You do miss out on something, so none of our programs that are offered online are bar eligible, and I only bring that up because it's so important to a lot of students.
Okay. So Shehernaz, Caryn, do you want to add anything to it? Is there an online program at your school?
Not at my school. We just have only a residential program, so in person for 10 months. Or we also have the optional third semester program, similar to my colleague Clemence mentioned earlier. So you could stay extra time if you wish.
Okay. What about you, Shehernaz?
We do have 2 online programs. One is in national security and cybersecurity, and the other one is in government procurement law. And the online program then, as my colleague Heather said, gives you the flexibility. So technically, LLM programs are 1 year. So if you're coming in on a student visa and you're coming in residence, you have to complete in a year. The online gives students the flexibility, especially if you're working professionals, to spread out the program over a period of 2 years or even more, and take the class at your own pace and then complete the program.
All right. Okay. So the next thing is very interesting, because here at Education University, we always talk about, finding your best fit schools. It's not just about you wanting to go to the school, but it has to fit, maybe your goals, maybe what you need and all. So from the university side, how do you select your students? What are you guys looking at in a candidate?
I'll start. So when we're looking and we're reviewing applications, and yes, all of us get hundreds and hundreds of applications a year. So I'm going to talk about myself as an admissions officer. You would think that the first thing we're going to look at is your transcript, right? To see how well you've done academically. What is your GPA in comparison to the American school? That's actually the last thing I look at. The first thing I look at, and that draws me to this individual who's applied, is your personal statement. So that is very, very critical, and I think all my colleagues will agree, because we are looking for somebody who's going to be an engaged member of our law school community. So at GW Law, we actually have a mission statement. Our mission statement is that we are a global law school. That's actually, if you go on our website, that's the first thing you'll see. We're a global law school. And so for the international LLM students who are coming into GW, we want to see that representation in the classroom. So we don't want somebody who's just going to come to class, take notes, and then disappear into the library, never to be seen again except for the next class. We want students who are passionate, who are going to come in and start student organizations, who are going to become an LLM senator on the Student Bar Association, who are going to be active members of the community, and then who will engage in the law setting, in the classroom, not only with their fellow students, because you're taking classes with the JDs, but also with the professor. So for us, that personal statement is a reflection of who you are, and it shows your commitment to doing an LLM. So for us, it is really what we're looking for is somebody who's going to be not only an academically sound student, but is somebody who's going to be an active participant in the law school community.
All right, perfect. What about you, Caryn?
Yes, so I think I'm speaking for all of us when I say that we know that any LLM applicant from around the world applying to study law in the United States in English is very ambitious and probably an excellent student. I mean, that probably goes without saying. So of course, most of the applications that we receive at Minnesota Law, just like my colleagues, are very strong. Strong academics are represented, strong resume, great TOEFL score or IELTS score, whatever it may be. So beyond that, we feel that our program is very special. We have like a very strong community and family feeling in our program, and it is a smaller program, as I mentioned earlier, with about 50 students. So the thing that really can make an applicant stand out is a demonstrated desire to have like a unique experience in the U.S. So Minneapolis or Minnesota, my state, is probably not the first location in the United States that most people think about. So the fact that they're applying and want to seek admission in our program means that they want something different, something a little bit different than maybe what is a standard experience. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. And the other thing is, of course, academics is the main reason why students would be coming to the U.S. to do this. I mean, that's very, very important, needless to say. But we really I think we all want our students to also have an experience outside of just the law school part. That's going to take up a lot of the time. It's going to be a lot of the energy. It's the focus, naturally. But there's so much more when you're studying in the United States. Minneapolis, where I live, is beautiful. We have a very strong focus on natural, spending time in nature and being outdoors. Have to experience that. We have a really strong sporting life in Minnesota. We have many, many different professional sports teams, and then our university is a Division I Big Ten university, so the collegiate athletics are top-notch, and that's something to see. We also are second to New York City. This is a little-known fact. This is a secret part of Minneapolis, but we are second to New York City in terms of art venues per capita. So these are things that you have to experience too. So we're looking for people who want to have the whole experience in our particular location.
Thank you, Kara. Heather?
Like Shehernaz, I look at the statement of purpose first, and what I really like to see in a student is a strong understanding of not just who they are as a unique individual, but what their goals ultimately are and whether or not our LLM program can help them to succeed for that. So I have to be honest. Can I be honest for a second? And I hope my boss is not watching this, and if you know my boss, please
turn off the cameras.
Please do not tell him this. But there's been not once, not twice, but quite a few times where a student has come to me and they've talked to me about their goals, and I realize that for that student, Texas A&M just is not the best fit for what they want to do. And so I help that student talk to the program that they might be interested in. Because as we travel on the road, we all get to know each other, and ultimately I want the students that enter my program to enjoy their time with me and with the whole school, but I'm the most important, to enjoy their time. And I would hate for somebody to join and regret their decision. This is a huge investment, not just in their money, but their time, and the sacrifice there needs to make sure that it's a good fit.
All right, thank you so much. So we're gonna open the Q&A session for the audience here and online, but we do have one very good question online that relates to what we were just talking about. So the question is from Maria, and her question is, how do I write a strong personal statement for an LLM program?
Google. I hate to give that answer because it just seems so simple, but Google. You can Google anything, and you can get some ideas from there. But one caution that I have for you, including being careful because AI is so popular, I use it not infrequently, but make sure that you are writing the statement of purpose because I want to know your voice and I want to know who you are as an individual. And too often, AI has a singular voice that sounds the same, and it doesn't let us get to know you as who you are.
Right, so be careful with AI because that's very tricky. Okay, Shehernaz.
Proofread, 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 spell check, spell check, spell check. You have no idea how many of us, all of us here, have read amazing personal statements talking about their interest, their passion, what they want to do after the LLM. But at the end of the personal statement, they reference another law school, not George Washington. So it goes back to be very intentional about your personal statement. Take time to research the law school that you're applying to. Look at the faculty. Look at what makes the law school attractive to you. Articulate all of that in the personal statement. But then when you submit, make sure you are submitting the right statement to the right school.
What about misspellings?
We see that too.
Okay.
So which, as I say, proofread, spell check.
Okay, Kara.
I echo what they said. Yeah, I echo what they said. But just to kind of reiterate, just really learning who you are. We know about your academic experience because we saw your transcripts, and we know about your professional experience so far because we've seen your resume. Those are other items. So let's use the personal statement as a deeper way to see who you are as a person, like who you are as a human being and why you're doing this. Why are you making this personal sacrifice to leave home for a year or more and come to the US to study? Like, what is motivating you? What is driving you there? And that really helps us get a glimpse into who you really are.
All right, great, thank you. The other question still relates to the previous one. It's from Vanya, and her question is, who should I ask for letters of recommendation, professors or employers?
Please, can I take this first? This is
Yes.
a topic that I am so passionate about. Okay, so remember how I said in your personal statement, we're trying to figure out who you are as an individual. We're trying to hear your voice, hear your passions. Students sometimes fall into a trap when they're requesting letters of recommendation. And they sit back and they think, who is the most important person that I personally know? And they ask somebody who doesn't know them hardly from Adam about anything about them. And so we get very generic letters of recommendation because the letters of recommendation are a supplement to your statement of purpose. They tell us who you are, what your strengths are, and why you might be a good fit for our programs. So pick people who know you the best. At Texas A&M, I don't care if it's 2 professional letters of recommendation, if it's 2 academic letters of recommendation. Some schools are going to require both or one or the other, and so it's important to look at their admissions requirements. But pick the people who know you best and can really tell us who you are. And along with that, I recommend sending in your CV with the request to make a letter of recommendation because it helps remind them of your strengths as a student. And then one final tip, because people who write these letters love it, send them a thank you and give them an update when you're accepted to your first choice.
Oh, great, thank you. Kara, do you want to add
I would just
anything?
have just one more addition, and just to clarify, in case there was any confusion, of course, I agree with having someone write it who really knows you well. But of course, it should be someone who knows you in an academic or a professional capacity, like not your mom. Your mom, your biggest fan, shouldn't write your letter of recommendation. It needs to be someone who can speak to your ability to thrive in one of these the LLM programs in the U.S. or whatever you are requesting the letter of recommendation for. Should come from an academic or professional perspective.
All right, Shehernaz?
I agree with my colleagues, and I would just add that when you are choosing your recommendations, be very specific about what you're asking them to do. So just don't say, oh, I'm applying to a master's program. Tell them which schools you're applying to, what programs you're applying to, so that they can also incorporate that information into their recommendation to say that, yes, this individual has the ability to undertake a very rigorous Master's of Law program in English in your university.
All right. So the question that I get very often here is, or not a question, but more like a statement. My boss is very busy. My supervisor is very busy. What they tell me is, why don't you write it and I'll sign it? What's your take on that?
Yell themselves first.
We can know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
we've read
easy to
enough.
tell, right?
We've read enough recommendations to know that it was written by somebody else than the person who's actually signing the document.
Right.
And maybe that means, maybe that means you could ask somebody else. Right. We do want someone who cares about, someone to write this for you who cares about the outcome and who is invested in this for you. So just as Heather mentioned, it doesn't have to be the most important person you know, but somebody who really knows you and who can speak to your strengths and your abilities. And so maybe if you get that answer, you could ask somebody else.
Right. Agreed. Heather? Anything you want to add?
I don't really have anything to add. Sometimes what people do is they will also maybe ask 1 or 2 additional individuals to write a letter of recommendation, kind of as a little bit of insurance in case somebody is too busy or they forget. And it also doesn't hurt to send a reminder email, maybe 2 days before something is due, just saying, hey, Dr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, my letter of recommendation is due on Friday. I just wanted to check in and see if you needed anything from me. And that way you're not babysitting them and asking them to submit it right away, but you're following up with them and reminding them.
Thank you.
Actually, I do have one thing to add. So a lot of times we see these recommendations coming in because it's close to the deadline. And the applicant is in a panic that if all of the documents are not submitted in time, your file is not going to be considered because you're going to be past the deadline. If there is somebody you really want to write that recommendation, but they can't get it in time, reach out to us. Reach out to the admissions officers and say, look, this recommendation is coming in, but it's going to be past the deadline. Please allow me to submit it after the deadline so that I can have the right person recommending me. And most of us will be happy to do that. Now, there are some schools with very strict deadlines, but if you reach out to us, we're your best advocates. We want you to apply to us. We want you to be admitted. We want to welcome you to our schools each year. So if you start a conversation with us and tell us that you are having perhaps an issue with a recommender, we'll be more than happy to hold your file until that recommendation comes in.
Thank you for the clarification. So I think it's a good reminder for everyone here because that question that I asked before, that's very common here. So it's a reminder that if your supervisor, your previous professor is asking you to write the right letter of recommendation yourself, it's probably a good time for you to start considering someone else to write the letter of recommendation for you. All right, so let's take a question from the audience here. Anyone here want to ask a question? Okay, so we have Ruth again.
Hello, I think this question is more to Ms. Joshi. You mentioned about there is an additional specialization in human rights law. Well, I'm actually a women's rights lawyer. So my question is, what would be the good fit for us to pursue opportunity maybe in World Bank or international NGO or maybe even UN in New York or Geneva? Like, how do you help your students? Is it better through externship, like during the semester, or OPT after? But I also heard that you have to come back to your country afterwards. So I'm kind of lost, like what would be the best journey there? And because I imagine if you go home first, then it's kind of hard to go back in. So please enlighten me on that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. You're studying an incredibly important topic in the world today, so kudos to you. So our international and comparative program, as I said, you can do that additional concentration in human rights. And in fact, every year we have fellows who go to the International Court of Justice. So we're one of the schools that nominates fellows to go to the International Court of Justice. And most of the students have a human rights background. In answer to your question about how to start this process, we have a dedicated LLM career counselor. So when you arrive, you're going to be sitting down with him and you're going to be strategizing about how to do the LLM. He's going to ask you whether you want to do the bar or not, and then what your goal is post-LLM. So at that point, we'd probably get a recommendation that to start this process, do an externship. Because you will find that a lot of times an externship could actually lead to an additional stint during the OPT. So you are getting yourself known by the employer, whether it's at the World Bank or Human Rights Watch, for example. So it's a good segue into it. And then keep in mind that our professors are your best resource because they know who's in the community is looking for externs or a research position, maybe to help somebody put together a conference. So it may not be an externship, but there are a lot of opportunities in the legal community in Washington that allow you to get that practical experience. So basically, what you're learning into the classroom, you're putting it into practice outside of the classroom. And you can do that both during the LLM and after.
And this goes for human rights law, but any field that you're studying, any area of law, students will be networking. You'll be networking the whole time, hopefully, that you're studying with us, no matter what area of law you are studying. So as Shehernaz said, your professors are advocates for you and they're sources of information. The Career Center, we all have dedicated career counselors in our career centers for LLMs. But, at Minnesota Law, one of our main human rights faculty chairs is Vanula Ni-Eolaine. She was just finished her appointment with the UN as the UN Special Rapporteur on International Human Rights. She would be a great person to network with, you know. So it's not just like it's all flowing together, you know. While you are studying, you're going to be investigating these other opportunities for OPT or beyond OPT.
Heather, do you want to add something to that?
My colleagues handled it perfectly.
Okay, all right. So we can answer one more question from our audience online. So the question is from Tifal. Her question is, as an international student, how do we get to the bar exam, or how do they sit for the bar exam?
I'm happy to take a stab at that first. So I think most law schools, your bar prep begins almost right from the beginning, especially in your academic support. That's something that some of my students often don't understand, how important academic support is. It shouldn't be considered optional ever. Every session you should be there. So as soon as you almost step inside the door, you're going to start your bar prep. There's some things that are going to help you be successful. Commercial bar prep material is vital. Yes, it is very, very, very expensive, but you really get what you pay for, and it is vital that you pay from that to help you. You're also going to have access to every law school. Every single one of us has a bar prep office, and they're going to have counselors and advisors in the bar prep office to help guide you. And I encourage you to listen to everything they say and put it in practice. There's a time where we don't want blind obedience and we want to question authority. When it comes to the bar exam, that is not the time.
All right, Shehernaz or Kara, do you want to add something to that?
Just to echo her, it should be definitely part of your plan if you're going to take the bar exam in the US to purchase one of the bar prep courses. And this is something that's outside of the LLM program, outside of your law school. It's not affiliated with the law school that you attend. It's a private product that you will purchase. Barbary, Kaplan, Themis, these are some examples. So I just want you to know that almost all JD students who have studied US law for 3 years full-time, and many of whom are domestic students and native English speakers, buy the bar prep course, and that's how they study. It provides a structure and a plan for your study. So if you are an LLM student who is studying for just 1 year compared to the 3, and you did not study US law in your LLB, and you may not be a native speaker, it really should go without saying that if they're doing it, you should really do it. So please let that be part of your plan if this is part of your goal to sit for the bar exam. It's essential.
All right. Shehernaz, anything you want to add? Nope. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Heather, Caryn, Shehernaz. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I hope you enjoyed the talk show. But we're going to move on to the fair right now. So everyone who is here, don't forget masih ada fairnya juga di depan saat ini. Jadi bisa langsung ngobrol dengan representatifnya ya. So thank you all so much. And we're going to hand the floor back to Patricia.
Thank you so much, Kak Caroline Darmanto, for navigating today's discussion. And of course, thank you to all U.S. University representatives from Session 1 and also Session 2. Can we give a big round of applause to all the moderator and the U.S. University's representative? Earlier at this event, we have trivia quiz for you who join us via online platforms. And the question was, is it true or false? You can apply for LLM even if you don't have a bachelor's degree in law. And the correct answer is false. Applying for an LLM degree requires a GD or another primary law degree, which outside the US could be an undergraduate degree in law, such as LLB or Bachelor of Laws. Congratulations to @Ruth Panjaitan from Instagram, who is the fastest one who can guess correctly. The last, to keep updated for our next amazing events here in America, you can follow our social media. We have on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube AT America. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Good luck with your application. My name is Patricia Elizabeth, and see you at the next At America events. Bye, everyone. Thank you.